Another way that you can make selections inside of Photoshop is by color. Now this is really useful if you have certain colors you need to pull out of an image. Maybe you have a picture and it's got 12 red balls and you want to select just those 12 red balls and nothing else. You can do it by a color range. So here we have this beach picture that you can see is mostly blues and whites and tans, and then this brilliant red drink here on the beach. Maybe we want to change that color. We don't want it to be red. We want it to be something else. It would be kind of difficult to select that because there's a lot of variances in reds in here. So if we zoom in on the image and we take a look here, you can see that though we see a nice red drink, it's actually made up of all kinds of different reds. There's pinks and reds and maroons and dark reds and light reds and some even white here. So it's made up of a lot of different colors, and to go in here and select those might be a little tricky. So we can select by color. If we go to the top, we click on select and we go down to color range. You can see that we are given a dialog box here where we can do a couple things. We can select by specific colors, including skin tones. We can detect faces in our selection. We can localize color clusters, so it's going to pick out some of those local color clusters for us, which would be helpful. The fuzziness is how much or how little we're actually selecting. It says adjust the fall off beyond the selection boundaries, so how much actual fall off there is once you make a selection. We have our range here, adjust the range of your selection, and then you can look at the actual selection mask, or you can view the image. So you can pick the image here, or you can go back to see what you're selecting. And then we have selection preview. Do we want the preview to be on the screen, which is pretty much the same thing, and we can do it with a grayscale, black matte, white matte, or even a mask. And the mask is very useful. We'll talk about masks later, but you can also see the mask being selected. So let's go ahead and we can just go ahead and leave it none for now. We'll take a look at that. You can also load and save selections. You can select the inverse here, and you can also add and subtract from your samples. So let's go ahead and click on the red color here. Now we can either use the eyedropper to pick a color like this, or we can pick a color up here. So if we select reds, it's going to pick all those reds for us, and that's brilliant. That's exactly what we want. Or we can select, say, cyans, and you can see it picks out all the cyans for us, and we can use that selection, or the blues, and what have you. Now, if we go to sampled colors, we can pick the color we want. So if we pick this blue up here by using the eyedropper tool, it'll select that blue sky. If we pick the cyan, you'll see that, the tan color, or the red glass here. Now we can hold down shift and it will add to our selection. It's just like clicking this button here. So holding shift will add. So if we didn't get all of our reds, we can keep clicking and picking all of those up. Or if we pick some we didn't want, we can subtract from the sample, or we can hit the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac. So if there's some things we didn't want, we can get rid of those by subtracting, and then we can resample just the piece that we want. So let's go ahead and let's just pick out the red color because that's what we want here, and that gives us a nice selection. And then we can look at the selection, or we can look at the image and go back and forth here, and then we can change the preview. So let's go ahead and click on the preview and see what it gives us. So when we look at the grayscale, you can see that not only did it pick up, it might be hard to see in this preview window, but on our image, not only did it pick up the reds in the drink, it also picked up all the little red pixels that make up the beach. So that might not be something that you need. You might need to mask that out, or just select the cup around it before you do this. We can look at a black matte to see it in that way. We can see a white matte, which kind of does the same thing. And these different methods are going to help you when you're doing selections based on the colors and the type of image that you're using. Sometimes you'll want a white matte because it'll be easier to see. Sometimes you'll want a black matte because it'll be easier to see. So we'll just do the grayscale. And then when we hit OK, you can see that it's made that selection for us. Let's go ahead and turn this into a regular layer. And if we hit delete, you can see that it has deleted out those red colors. And you have to keep in mind, it also deleted a lot of pixels that were actually in the image for the beach too. So you might need to mask out just the cup and then select your reds, or find workarounds to just pick out the cup. But here we had a nice easy way to select those colors. I'm going to bring that back. Let's undo that for a second here. Let's go back to select color range. And let's do sampled colors. And by using the sampled colors, I'm getting more of the colors that aren't all the reds in the scene, but what pertains mostly to this glass. Now, every now and then I'll hit one and you can see some of the beach pop up, but we're not selecting as much as the beach because we're not picking every red in the scene. We're sampling the colors of this cup. Now, if I hold shift, I can select more parts, and as I select more, you can start seeing that some of those colors are coming in here at the bottom for the beach down here. So maybe we can deselect if we don't want all of these. Let's change this back to none. And let's actually just start over again. Let's pick this color here and some of these reds. And some of those whites we don't want, so maybe we don't want to select those and we'll just stick to these. Now the fuzziness we can change, and that's going to grow or shrink how much you're selecting. So let's change this back to grayscale and you can see this better. As I grow the fuzziness, it's going to pick more, and as I shrink that, it's going to pick less. So that might be a little more of what we want, just a little bit less fuzziness, and we can pick out some of these colors. So we hit OK. It has that selection, and now we can edit that, we can move it around, or maybe we can recolor it. If we go to image adjustments and hue and saturation, we can colorize this. Maybe we want our drink to be a brilliant green drink here, and then we can deselect and check out our work. Now, of course, I missed some pieces. You'll want to fine tune this a little better than I just did, but that is a quick way to select different colors inside of Photoshop.